Alright, so I wanted to make this video earlier, but it's better late than never. So here are 5 tips for making the most of this implant rework. If you're not aware about this update, then you can pause and read these update notes here. These will be available on the 27th, but will be forced at the end of the month. Alright, so the first tip is remove all your implants. If you have any that are on a pilot, just get them off. Obviously, remove them for free with 0 acorns. And the reason is because the upgrade cost will remain the same regardless. So even if you end up maxing, this implant all over again, the absolute worst it can cost you is the 10 seconds it would take to upgrade it back. But this way, you have all of the parts, and you have your implants, and you're making sure that you're not going to upgrade things that you're not going to use later. Now, when this update drops, you will have the opportunity to download it. You don't have to immediately. There's a few days where you can choose to put it off. But once you do have it downloaded, then the implants will stay at the level that you get them to. So that brings us to tip number 2, and that is always make sure you upgrade your main implants first. In my case, it would be like my more competitive type stuff, the stuff that I know that I'm gonna want, to be as strong as possible for competitive matches or that sort of thing. Tip number 3, make sure that you're keeping your epic implants 1 level lower than your pilot rank, and your rare implants at least 2 levels lower. So let's say I have a max pilot here. It's rank 6, so I can get my implants to rank 6. My legendaries I'll want maxed out, but my epic I'll probably want at level 5. What's the reason for that? Well, it's because 31,000, almost 32,000 to get the entire thing. That's for all 6 levels. If I were to reinstall an epic implant and get it to level 5, this last one costs 20,000. So I'm spending a third of what I'd otherwise have to spend. For an epic implant, since it's not the best that you can get, then it's definitely worth, not having that last level for the sake of saving all of those implant parts. Now there are some exceptions. One exception being here, I have the epic damage and epic radius maxed out on this pilot. The epic is actually the best that you can get for both of these implants. There's no such thing as a legendary damage or a legendary radius for Stormrat. It can be worth maxing out the epics if that's what you want to use. Tip number 4, know what weapons you're using and make sure that you know that what you're upgrading implants for is actually worth keeping long term. Now in this case I have some railgun implants here. Railgun is not particularly useful these days, so it's not really worth upgrading these implants to any high level, if at all possibly. Tip number 5, always check the stats of the implant before leveling it up. In this case, I actually don't want to have my nade launcher range at over level 5. The reason is because at level 5 it gives me 25%. On a nade launcher's base range is 80, so with 25% additional range you get exactly 100 meters maximum range, and that's just really easy to work with. That's a preference on my part, but it is something that I don't want to over level. If I were to get this to level 6, the only way for me to get it back down to level 5 is by scrapping the level 6 one and then buying a new one and leveling it back up to level 5, which is obviously not something you want to do. A few cases of implants that actually perform better at level 5 than they do at max are specifically the 2 quantum gun implants, overheat and stasis. If you look at the stats, the percentage boost is actually higher at level 5 than it is at level 6. I couldn't tell you why, but this goes for both the overheat and the stasis. So make sure that you don't max these out on accident. That would be very sad. And of course, I would encourage everyone to get this done as soon as possible and to not put it off. Like I said, the update will be forced on everyone's device by the end of the month, so the 30th or possibly the 31st. If I would have just let the update be what it was, then I would have had a bunch of maxed out railgun implants, and that's not necessarily something that I want. I assume if you leave implants on a pilot and they're maxed out on that pilot, then they'll just be maxed out when you update the game. I'm actually going to leave these on here for science to kind of test that theory. I imagine that's the case, but these are ones that I would want maxed out anyway, so I'm just going to leave them here. Anyway, that will be it for me. Appreciate y'all. Take care.